Congratulations, you found the Twin Cities Hit Show.
Very well. Where do I begin?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
That's the signal for all hands on deck.
Grab your jacket, man your gun, all hands on deck. Battle stations, everyone, all hands on deck.
Reach for this one.
And now, a real hit show.
Are y'all throwing a party?
You know what we gotta do? Toga party.
Toga! Toga! They're begging us. Toga! Please have a party. Feed us free. Get us free.
Live from the Twin Cities.
You know, there's going to be sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Hookers and drugs and
Chips, dips, chains, whips. Booze and girls equals, I don't know, you.
It's the Twin Cities Hit Show.
You having a party here or what?
Party time. Drink your drinks and eat your eats. It's party time.
Let's get this hit show started.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
Oh, I wish you could see this, folks. Barry Zevan, the weatherman, lip-syncing to the Beastie Boys right now. You do it, Barry. Man still has his moves. He told me earlier he's 99 years old. Look at him go.
He's lying. I know this. Like, there's no way that he's
It's got to be Thursday because we are live from the Chart House, and it's our deck show, and we got a star-studded show. We're going to have live music coming up toward the end.
You gotta fight.
This is our second outdoor show, Chuck, of the day.
Yeah, it's been a long but beautiful day.
We were at a golf event earlier this morning. It was the Golf for the Gift, and it was to raise money for adoption. And so now here we go again. 2 in 1 day. This is going to be the better one, though. Hesley.
Already
Yeah, 'cause
better.
I didn't get a
Hesley
gift.
Ray is here once again. She last week, if you were with us, she drove all the way to Des Moines before she realized
Northfield, yes.
that she missed. She sincerely went to Northfield before she realized she missed her exit. And then you're going to work the mic because the mayor of Lakeville is
The
here.
mayor
Your
is
Let's
here.
give it up for the mayor of Lakeville.
Woo! I feel really weird that I get to control when he gets to speak right now.
Such power.
Honestly, I have a lot of power. He gained office. Like, he was voted in, and I get to say when he gets to speak. That's crazy.
We have.
I didn't even graduate college.
She's on a power trip.
So I'm on a huge power trip right now.
We
yes.
have lots to get to, but Mayor, can I just ask you, how does the Chart House? It's got to be like a landmark for Lakeville, right? It's been around a while.
This has been around a long time. It's a great place. I do have to mention that the last time I was on your show, we had a big debate about the greatest city in Minnesota. And we talked about how Lakeville was the greatest city in Minnesota.
All right.
And here the show is, live, from the greatest city in Minnesota. How about that?
That was not
How
planned.
about that?
Nice.
And it is pretty darn nice.
But good to be back.
I'm going to vote for you next time. I have never have, but now I will. You've
Which
sold me.
cities were the other contenders? Can you tell me? Do you know?
Literally no one else is close. So it's pretty easy.
I agree. So sitting here in the beautiful city of Lakeville, I would say, yes, this is the best city in Minnesota.
And there's no denying, although he is getting older, he is a very young mayor. You're still in college, right? You're studying in law school?
That is not correct.
Yeah.
You're not in law school?
No, again, the news media refuses to let me grow up. They think I'm 27 and in law school. I'm 30 and a real lawyer.
That's the
30 and a real lawyer.
I just have to say he's a
That's the
tiny
correct
child. Like when you said the mayor of Lakeville was on, I thought it was our weatherman here.
No.
He looks more like a mayor, and then you pointed at this baby, and you're a tiny child.
So Mayor,
Respond.
You're a tiny child.
I think
Your
we'll get
Honor.
to that later.
Your Honor, you're wee. You're tiny, Your Honor.
Mayor, do you recognize or remember Barry Zevan?
No, but I did my research.
Because
I did my research.
Barry,
a legend.
Folks out here in the audience remember Barry Zevan, the weatherman, right? There they go. There is. Barry, your tenure at Channel 5 was not a long tenure, but everyone remembers you.
Yeah, it was very nice to have that happen.
From 1970 to 74, was that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're just behind us practically is Buck Hill. you'll find out Barry has stories about everyone. Besides being a weather guy, he's kind of a Hollywood guy as well, and he knows all the legends. He can call many of those legends his friends. He's writing a memoir, which we're going to talk about, because he has so many stories that are just incredible. But you've spent some time at that little ski hill just over there, our shoulder.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite photos is with Jean-Claude Keeley and Spider Savage, who got killed by Claudine Langier, as we know, and Billy Kidd. We were all racing on that hill many times.
So you're very familiar with this part of town.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And over the years, who's been the biggest celebrity, do you think, that you've interviewed or met?
I think, well, President Truman. I interviewed him for a half hour, but and one-on-one. But as far as show business celebrities, the best one was Gregory Peck. And we were together twice, and he just a sweet man. Once way out on the desert, just west of Las Vegas, and you saw the picture he signed. He said, "To Barry, my best wishes to my partner." Gregory Peck.
You were out in the desert. Why? Was Hesley driving you? Did you?
I was. Yes. We went to Northfield first. Yes.
I went to the Krupp Ranch via Northfield.
I have to break into this for 1 second, because we have a politician here. You know, you're the mayor of Lakeville, and you're talking about interviewing the president, Truman. What did you ask him, and could you ask the same question to Mayor of Lakeville, please?
Talk about the war, Mayor Little.
I mean,
tell us about the war, damn it.
Please, maybe tell, what was one question that you asked President Truman that you could possibly ask him right here? He's right here, and he's the mayor.
All I had to ask
I'm so excited. I'm actually...
Easy. Let the man answer the question.
Here's the question. Let me keep talking.
I'm so sorry.
All I had to ask him was what his favorite stories were, and he gave us 4. And one of them was he didn't want to be vice president when Roosevelt chose him. The second one was when Roosevelt died. The next day, he called a cabinet meeting, and they said, "Mr. President, there's something President Roosevelt didn't tell you," and it was about the Manhattan Project, the development of the atomic bomb. He was angry with Roosevelt one day after Roosevelt died.
Yeah.
He ended World War II in Europe on his birthday, May 8th, 1945, and I asked him about dropping the atomic bombs. He said he had no problems with it. It was them or us. And then the last story he told was about how he fired MacArthur. And he actually swore on the air because we didn't have any tape or tape delays in those days.
Well, you're cool here. This is a podcast. You can say whatever the hell you want, Barry.
Talk about that.
Yeah, try and beat that, Mayor Little. Well, do you have any? Do you have a Manhattan Project here?
That was a lot of build-up. I'll just tell one story that actually happened 2 days ago. I was over at my brother's house, and my nephew Ian, who I call E-Man, he's 4, and he was roaming around the house, and he looks at me, he says, "You know what I'm going to be when I grow up?" And I said, "Well, what?" He's like, "I'm going to be the mayor, just like you." And then he walked up to go take his bath, and it was the greatest moment so far of my political career.
You're inspiring people. I remember as a kid watching, growing up here and watching Eyewitness News. This is back from 1974, I think.
You're going to make me cry now.
And this guy, you couldn't help but not take your eyes off of Barry Zevan when he did the weather, and you brought personality to the weather, which was that. It was more common then to be looser with the news?
No, truthfully, the only reason I started peeking around the corner at the camera was the first time I ever did weather out in Montana. The boss said, "Do it any way you want to do it."
Oh, well, boy. I never had that from my boss.
Yeah. So anyway, the camera was pedestaled down, and I started writing on the board, and I thought, you have to look at your audience. So I started looking back at the camera, and I started peeking into the camera, and then kept back and forth to the board. And it was only to keep eye contact with the audience.
Yeah.
But as far as the personality side of it, I mean, you know me, I'm certifiedly insane.
Right.
So it's okay to just
Welcome.
Do
You're among
do
friends.
whatever. Yes.
I'm Barry Zevan. I'm insane. Welcome. Welcome.
You'll fit in fine at Channel 5.
Huh?
You're insane. You'll fit in fine at Channel 5.
Yeah.
But no, it was just fun. So it was a combination of my show business background and the weather, because I get into weather by accident. I joined the Air Force, and the only 2 things open were meteorology and motor pool. And in my heart of hearts, I always wanted to drive a bus. So if I had gone into motor pool, I would have learned how. But then I decided, no, I like astronomy, so close to astronomy is meteorology, and that's where I got my little certificate. I never thought it would help me on the outside because I wanted to get back into show business.
Can I got to jump in and ask you a question. I when I was doing my research, I saw a picture of you with Hubert Humphrey, who is one of my idols that I look up to, and I was wondering if you could talk about your experiences with him.
He was so wonderful. The first time I met him was when I was program director of a TV station in Seattle, and he had the memory of like no one on the earth. Mm-hmm. Years later, that was in 1965. When I got here in 71, he remembered the exact moment we met. And over the years, he wrote me such beautiful letters. And then I emceed Mondale's inaugural banquet in 77 at the Washington Hilton. And Hubert was there, and I talked about how he inspired me the night that J.F. Kennedy was killed. I heard him on radio. I was driving back from Las Vegas up to Idaho, where I was living. And he and Senator John Pastore calmed the entire nation with, you know how beautiful he was. And so that, the night, though, that I got to introduce him at Mondale's inaugural banquet, he recalled a lot of memories, too, with us. So what a wonderful man. He should have been president. Yeah. They said, and I knew one of Nixon's people very well. John Ehrlichman and I were friends, ironically. But even Ehrlichman said, if that election had been held 1 week later, Humphrey would have won. And it was only because of the Chicago riots that, it tainted him and the Democratic Party at that time.
Kind of sad, really. Those are some of my favorite riots, the Chicago riots. And it's sad that they left that negative thing.
Yeah, it's a singing group, the Chicago riots.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Barry's writing his memoirs, and his childhood friends were Sal Mineo, this guy.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Christopher Walken, right?
Yes. When Chris was 6 and I was 17, his brother Kenny and I acted together on national television shows. And Kenny Walken introduced me to Chris one day outside of school. And Chris was 6, as I said, and I was 17. And I'm telling you, that kid did not look like a kid.
Christopher Walken?
Feel like anyone saying he was 6 and I was 17, and it was Christopher Walken. Like, this man kind of, right now I'm, sort of crying and having hero worship for you. Because, that's great. You've had a crazy life.
I was just lucky. I went to a school called Lodge Professional Children's School, and across the street was Professional Children's School, so all of the school kids mixed in social events and parties and everything, and after school. In my school were Elliot Gould, Sal Mineo, Leslie Uggams, Tuesday Weld, Patty Dukes, Carol Lindley, Sandra D. We were all together.
Sandra D?
Yeah, Sandra Zook in those days.
I can say I've never heard that in a real sentence before today.
Well, and then...
just let's replay that for a second. In our minds.
The whole list of people that went to school there?
Well, you can read the book here.
I honestly want to read this book, and this is kind of a huge gift that we're still around somebody that can say things like that.
The thing for me is, though, as I say in the beginning of the book, this is not name-dropping. I had the blessing to actually be born into the business. My second cousin, Cecil Brown, was one of Edward R. Murrow's boys in London during World War II. Cecil was ABC's first anchor. And my grandfather was agent for Milton Berle and George Burns and Gracie Allen. He was first violinist for the Pittsburgh Symphony. Arthur Treacher lifted me up on the stage at age 2 and said, this child was born for the Footlights. And it's just, it was crazy. So I was lucky to be in it. But as I say in the book, this is not name-dropping or anything. This is having had the blessing.
It's what happened.
And being in
It's your story. You got to tell it.
And being in awe of all of that. Because when you're growing up with it, like when I was doing Mr. Peepers for 2 years with Wally Cox and Tony Randall, Tony was like a father to me. And it just, it's my life.
Anyone who can name the TV show? This is a theme song. From the 70s and 80s.
happiness that we feel and
Here it comes.
Oh, 8 is enough to fill our lives.
8 is enough.
8 is enough.
Dick Van Patten just died.
And you worked with Dick.
Yes.
Before he died.
Well, I knew him. I knew him from the time I was 15. His mother was one of my agents in New York. So I knew Dickie when he was doing, I Remember Mama.
Dickie.
And then
he has
it was always
a pet name for him.
Well, the reason I called him Dickie because his mother, Joe Van Patten, always used to be.
Of course.
Well, Dickie this and Dickie that and Dickie that. Anyway,
you guys did the Sunshine Boys together.
For a year, I was on tour with Dick and Frank Gorshin, who I also grew up with in Pittsburgh.
I feel like at any moment you can be like, and then Marilyn Monroe and I.
Well, I know.
You know.
I worked with her too for 3 days.
Of course
anyway.
you did.
Okay,
but anyway, let me tell you.
I shit you not. You pick a name, and he'll know what that person is.
Okay. Dick Van Dyke.
I want to finish the story.
Okay, sorry.
So Dick and Frank and I acted together in the Sunshine Boys on a national tour. I was with Dick and Frank for almost a year, every day on the bus, describing and talking about all our...
That sounds like a book.
Oh,
you ride the bus together. You're just like real people.
We reminisced about everything. And then I was at Dick's house several times in L.A., and also he actually had dinner at our house here during one of the breaks with his son, Jimmy, who is actually one of the best actors in the world and has never gotten the break he should have.
Uh-huh.
In
Lakeville? I did call.
They had dinner at your house in Lakeville?
No,
oh.
Golden Valley.
He lives
but
in
I
Golden
have to tell you, I did call Pat Van Patten, Dick's wife.
Yeah.
Was one of the June Taylor dancers on the Jackie Gleason show. So we used to act at the same time. But I called the home number yesterday, and I got their voicemail message. And Dick always had a joke of the week. But his message, which of course will never be re-recorded by him, said, "Hi, you've reached Dick and Pat. We're not here, and that's that."
That's the last message on his phone.
Yeah.
She mentioned Dick Van Dyke. Did you ever get a chance?
Never met him.
Oh, we stumped Zevan.
Oh, I feel like I win.
You win?
Yes.
What do you win?
The one person you never met.
There's like
in Hollywood.
Sammy Davis Jr.
I know, and then you have pet names for everyone. You know, it's like Jackie, and like, oh, Marilyn was like, oh, Mare. I don't know what her pet name was to you.
No, she was actually
of
very...
Of course you would have a personal story.
She was very bashful. But her best friend, her very best friend and I were schoolmates, and her name was Susan Strasberg. And Susan's...
Has an acting school.
Susan,
yes,
the father,
I read that book
Lee
too.
Strasberg, started the Actors Studio.
New York. Yep.
Are we talking over each other?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, okay.
It's me.
Yeah,
it's me.
Susan's father, Lee Strasberg, started the Actors Studio.
Uh-huh.
So that's why she and Marilyn became close. I did just, truthfully, what they call a good background extra part in the 7-Year Itch with her and Tom Ewell, and we filmed it at Pennsylvania Station, and it was my duty to fall at Marilyn's feet, and on some cuts of that film, you see me doing that. She looks down and giggles.
I am going to watch this again
but
and look for you.
And that's the movie where her dress flies up, right?
Yes, yeah. Right in front of the Paramount building.
And her husband at the time was really upset about that.
Wait a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Old people talking here. But anyway, my God, does this woman ever stop? Anyway, what I was going to say.
I'm so excited to talk about this. So.
But I wanted to say what Marilyn, the only time I actually ever talked to her was during a break in the filming. And I said, "So great to work with you." And she just smiled and she said, "Well, thank you very much." And she was bashful. And I had a friend named Delmer Daves. He's the only director Jack Warner ever kept under contract. And Delmer told me once, he said, "Marilyn, the more popular she got, the more insecure she got." And he said nobody ever knew it or understood it. So she couldn't handle it. And it was sad.
Well, another superstar, and ironically, anniversary of his death is today. Michael Jackson.
Oh,
2009.
Well, Quincy Jones and I have known each other since '52, and when Michael died, Quincy went into a funk for a month.
I bet.
Funk, I see what you did there.
Funk. Yes, F-U-N-K. Yeah, Funk.
Well played.
Quincy Jones, obviously the producer of Thriller, one of the biggest records of all time.
Yeah.
And
I just talked to him 2 days ago. He's on his way to Montreux, Switzerland again for the Jazz Festival. I was there 3 years ago.
Do you call him Q?
No, I don't do that. I always just say Quincy because, out of respect. I mean, people around him call him Q. I don't feel like that should be.
So Quincy Jones is obviously an awesome friend to have. Any Michael Jackson or Jackson family stories?
None at all.
Okay, all right.
I have one.
Let's hear it.
So if you go to the Matt Little Public Official Facebook page, you can see my MJ impersonation.
What did you do as Michael Jackson?
You will have to watch it.
Oh, the dance moves?
Yep.
Fully intrigued, this guy right here. You've definitely got my vote.
Check it out.
You're not in blackface, though, are you?
No response necessary. I was not.
Okay, good. Before we, because we're going to hear a lot more about Barry. He's got a story. What's the name? Your memoir?
The title of the book is Thank You, Jerry Stiller, because Jerry has urged me for years to write this book. And so that's the title, and he gave me written permission to entitle it that. He said, that'll sell more books.
Ben Stiller's dad, and of course, Ann Mira just
passed away, too.
This summer as well.
Which knocked me in the chops, too. She's a wonderful lady, brilliant talent. Both of them.
So I wanted to ask the mayor's opinion, though.
Hey, Patrick, we're kind of tweaking, overmodulating.
We're rocking out the crowd here. We're kind of overmodulating. There we go. Mayor, your opinion, the big Confederate flag issue, do you think that should be off of Capitol grounds?
I can answer that for him because just yesterday they did pull it down from City Hall. Yeah. So bold move, Mayor. Bold
He was not flying.
I really question why I come on this show. Honestly, I do.
So do I. I question why I come on the show.
Anyhow, here's my opinion. There is no way I would ever advocate for that flag to fly here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So if I was there, you'd be hearing from me. I actually sent a tweet out about 3 days ago, and I said, you know what, you can have it, you can do whatever you want with it, but you'll be damned if you ever see me flying that thing.
Well, yeah,
we didn't mention
government property.
Yeah. Right. We didn't mention this on the show the other day, Rusty, when we talked about it, but that West St. Paul councilman who was flying the Confederate flag basically got booted off the city council because he was adamant he was going to fly it from his house. People were going nuts. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago, I think.
And what about the name? Now we have our own, I guess, miniature controversy here in Minnesota. How do you fall on the Calhoun story? Are you familiar with this, Barry?
Yes.
Yeah, the Calhoun named after a controversial vice president, although he was a great politician, but he was kind of pro-slavery.
Yes, he was. And
should we rename the lake?
Well, I heard on another radio broadcast a couple of days ago, some people calling in, and somebody said they felt it should be named, if they're going to rename it, Lake Humphrey, for Hubert.
There you go.
Or something like that. Some Minnesotan who obviously was not.
And I grew up here, and I had no idea the background of that name. I just assumed it had Native American thing about it.
This might be a really odd take on the situation, and I'm willing to throw this out here. I don't know that many people knew what Calhoun stood for or what it meant.
Well, I didn't.
Right? And so I'm saying, if you want to stand for something, do you have the money to back up the renaming of all of the signs? There is a lot involved in actually renaming something. But do we all care enough to collectively do that? And do people actually know what it means?
Well, somebody who called in said, why don't we find somebody else who's historic with the same last name? Calhoun, who isn't controversial.
That would be a great solution. Yes.
Tricky.
Little Jimmy Calhoun graduated from the 11th grade a year early. Let's name it after him.
It's a good Irish name.
He was so far advanced for his age, and we all want to appreciate him.
How about by
naming a lake after him? And I agree with doing something great as a culture, and we want to put our collective energy into somebody who's done something good. So this man Calhoun did not do something good, and the lake is named after. But I'm just saying, this one guy who did the Facebook thing to rename the lake, he does not have the funds to back up his claim, and does he have enough of a point where even like the people who would be hurt by it would care? And so like we're looking back on the Charleston thing. Okay, this just happened. Those people went to court and they collectively forgave that man who did that to their family. They all stood in court and they said, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And they're talking out of love. If anyone should want to rename the lake here, it should be them. And they don't care. They could give two craps.
Well, the family in
So,
Charleston doesn't care?
They don't care because...
But what about the black community?
Do they care?
Here
I
in
guess that's
Minnesota.
the question.
Greg
It's,
Coleman
do
didn't seem to
they?
care. And does it have to be just the black community? Because I find
No,
that
I
name
don't
now
think it
soiled.
does, but
I now
do they
find that-
care?
I now find that name soiled. Now that I know...
Does anyone really care? Like, Rusty, you yourself,
I don't know.
as a human being,
I don't know.
do you care enough to, like, would you...
I think it
Would
sucks
you put money
that
into
lake,
it, though?
I think it sucks that name is...
Okay, if
that
I
lake
said
is named
to you,
after someone who had those boobs.
I can rename this, though, and you have to pay $100 more in taxes. Would you do that?
I want to ask the mayor. I want to let the mayor talk.
I would love
If
this.
it
yes.
it was your kettle, if it was your Pandora's box, what do you do?
I think you adopt Barry's suggestion and you put it right back in the box. Because if you think about it, right, there's a whole host of people in our history that we revere, but they also had an incredibly terrible side, right? So if you're thinking about President Jackson, I mean, he owned slaves, so everything named...
George Washington owned
Jackson,
slaves.
Yep, so everything named after that, we're going to go back and rename. So I think we do. I don't care whose last name is Calhoun. We name it after them, and we move on. And I think that's a perfect solution.
Yeah, and we talked about this on the show the other day, but it's contextual. I mean, I'm not saying that not everyone was like that, but a lot of people were like that, and now we're going back and we're taking away everything the guy has done that is good. And there's a lot that's good.
And let me cut back in again too and say I think it's we're halfway to the solution by recognizing that this guy was not perfect, right? And perhaps he did some things good, but I think if you're looking for a solution, go with Barry. He knows what he's talking about.
All right, Barry, way to go. You've got the...
Well done, Barry.
Barry, let's hear it
And if
for
elected-
Barry Zevan.
That's it, I'm buying your book.
Barry, I'd like to talk to you about a campaign contribution now.
Well, I have 12 cents.
I'll take it.
Plus shipping and handling.
What about just opening up like the stadium for naming rights? Maybe it's the General Mills Lake now. Yeah, for $10 million,
Oh.
they'll take the name of the lake for
that's
10
big.
years.
That is big. Betsy Hodges would love that.
Yeah, Lake Cargill.
Hey, that's even better.
They'll pay for They got plenty of the big enough wallet to pay for all the
I
new
feel
signage.
like let's name it Lake Berry at this point.
At Lake Berry.
You know,
all right.
I'm for that. That's innocuous enough.
Also, I'm kind of tired of talking about Minneapolis. So if we have something else on the docket, let's
actually,
get to
that's
it,
what I was getting at. Speaking of controversial, let's talk about this Chipotle thing.
Let's get at it.
Yeah.
So is there going to be Chipotle in Lakeville?
I will say this now. They're going to come eventually.
Yeah. Are there
Come
discussions? Did your tweet up lead to something?
They are very specific about what type of building and where they want to be located.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of strip mall-y up and...
Yep.
Yes.
End cap in a strip mall so
Yeah.
that everybody, when
Okay.
they're done running their errands, they run by Chipotle.
And we don't really have that.
We don't. We have that. It's just filled, you know.
Yeah.
Because Lakeville's doing so well in the commercial and industrial sector that most of our buildings are full.
Yeah. You just landed a big commercial contract. Who's coming here?
Post Holdings has
yeah.
made a huge decision to keep their headquarters in Lakeville, and so they will be relocating some folks from Battle Creek, Michigan, as well as from New Jersey here to Lakeville. So it's a huge move that is a big benefit to our city.
How many people live in Lakeville proper?
About 58,584.
586, because you just won over two people from the chart house.
All right,
Move here.
586.
We are live at the Chart House. We want to thank them. We also want to thank 3rd Street Brewery, right?
Oh, yum. I had one
They
moments
are,
ago.
They've got several microbrews available. You had the Trout last week, right?
I did again today. They're $3.50 here today at the Chart House.
Really?
I see our band, a member of our band has got a 3rd Street Brewery shirt on. And
wearing
then
the swag.
Blue and White Cab, we need to thank them. They
Oh my gosh!
you can
I
actually-
took a cab ride to Northfield.
say what?
Blue and White Cab, the only cab that will drive to Northfield and back to the Chart House.
That's not true.
That's not true, but I wish it was. I really wish
it
was.
might be true.
You know what? I will say one time, this is a real story. I forgot my cell phone in a Blue and White Cab. I swear to God that man brought it back to my house.
Really?
Yes.
Usually if you lose something in a cab, it's like, nope, never saw it.
And that man's
saw
name is
it
Travis,
again.
and you're now with him. And that's great.
No, honestly, I think his name was Mohammed, and thank you.
Oh, that's a good guess.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's happening here this weekend in the city, some other entertainment stuff, more about Lakeville if we can. And then, Barry, I want to find out specifically when we read your memoir and when we can read your memoir, what we're going to learn about you that might surprise us. All right?
The Twin Cities Hit Show. We'll be right back.
Don't let your computer problems drive you mad. We are MacMen, Minnesota's premier tech consultants and problem solvers for Macs, mobile devices, troubleshooting, training, and much more. No more dragging your computer all over town because we come to you. We love making house calls to your home or small business. MacMen. Call 612-345-8005.
The term foodie can sometimes come across as a tickle pretentious. BT and Lydia are here to demystify the term and reclaim it for the sake of good food. Their weekly podcast brings in fellow foodies and culture creators from the Twin Cities to talk about all things food. Find this duo only on the Alive and Social Network.
It's been a Twin Cities food legend for almost 30 years. It's been the anchor for the Minneapolis warehouse district since it opened. And you may not know that the Loon Cafe can provide their outstanding creations and much, much more for your gathering, whether it's a private party or corporate event. For custom catering beyond the menu, contact the Loon Cafe. They'll create foods that will amaze your guests. Leave the cooking to someone else. Contact Brian at the Loon Cafe for your catering needs. Call 612-332-8342 or visit looncafe.com.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
I'll give you a cup.
You're listening to the Twin Cities Hit Show. Say it 3 times fast. We just dare you.
Here we go. We're back. If you're just finding us, we are live from the Chart House in Lakeville, out on their patio. Another glorious Thursday. So far, I think 8 weeks we've been doing this. Only once have we had to be inside. They got the grill. Looks like they're setting it up there. Seeing if we had Josh around. I don't see him, but they always have. There he is. They always got great food out here on the patios. Looks like more people arriving.
Roasted wildebeest is the special today.
I don't think that's true.
Hey, listen.
What are you eating, Chuck?
I am not eating, Rusty. It's very clearly not eating.
I worked in South Africa a couple times, and the wildebeests are protected.
Oh,
so you lied.
Oh, the owner is here too.
Barry, what did you have real quick before you came on?
Wildebeest.
You had shrimp or something?
Yeah, it's shrimp scampi with broccoli.
Nice.
And a non-alcoholic beer.
Way to go. And Chuck, you're eating, as we speak, chicken.
Yeah. It tastes like chicken, whatever it is.
It looks like hummus on your knife or something. I don't know. I feel like Chuck eats on the radio, which Rusty and I talked about this after the show last time. So
it's verboten.
Anyone who knows about podcasts or radio at all,
it's not allowed.
You cannot eat or drink on the air, right?
Not.
Like that is something you do not do. And Chuck has repetitively done it in front of Rusty, and Rusty sort of runs the show. And so like I'm watching for this eruption. Like, when are you going to get him under control?
Never. Oh, well.
Rusty is very calm in situations like this. And
He's calm, and he's allowing you to
enjoy the
eat.
moment. I enjoy the moment.
The only reason is because the food is so good at the Chart House.
There you go. Telling me what irritates you is like, give me your ATM.
That's so stupid.
Your
That's so dumb.
Yeah.
That you get joy out of pissing me off.
Mm-hmm.
That is...
This guy
It's
used
childish.
he used to be a police officer for 18 years. Can you imagine?
His face looks familiar.
Oh, Barry. Oh.
Singer from Barry.
And then again, yes, go get yourself a fabulous beer from 3rd Street Brewery. They do have those right here at the Chart House. So, Mayor, next weekend is the 4th of July. You've got a big annual festival, right? Yeah, you got to watch that connection there. You're getting zapped. What is it called? It's Panaprog?
It's the Panorama of Progress. And
Panorama of Progress.
Panaprog, in short, it kicks off on the 4th of July. There's a couple events that start 2 days before. I will be playing on Thursday night, so that'll be July 2nd. You can play me in cribbage.
Ooh.
So
really?
That's going to be pretty exciting, and you will lose. Just FYI.
Oh, thank God for that.
And so it gets started, but the real kickoff is July 4th, and then it runs through the following Sunday. So it's
do you guys
a great
have
event.
fireworks?
We do. We have a real
Nice.
good set of fireworks.
There's a great tent show every year, babes. Who are the artists this year?
Excuse me?
Your mouth is full of food, Chuck. I'll translate.
I can't.
You have a tent of people who play music? Is that what he was asking? Who are the
I hate
artists?
to admit Rusty's right.
Yeah.
Please set the food down. Please set the food
Let me
down.
get a few.
It does look nice, but please
It
set
looks
the
delicious.
food down.
Seriously,
Who's
Chuck.
playing this year, babes?
I don't know. But July 10th on Thursday night, you should head out to Beer Brats and Bingo at the Lakeville Lions. I'm a member of that. We put on a big fundraiser. Then Friday and Saturday night, there's various entertainment all around downtown. You should check it out. And then the parade.
And fireworks are not a given because it costs money to shoot off those fireworks.
And, we're very fiscally responsible here in Lakeville. So there's a committee. There's a Panaprog committee that actually raises the funds. So it's all private dollars that
It's
gets
like
blown
close
up.
to $10,000 sometimes, right?
It is 45 to 50,000.
I was going to say well north of that.
Wow.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good fireworks.
Well, I mean, if we're going to do something in Lakeville, we're going to do it well.
Wow, you'll be able to
I
see
have
it
a
from
really
Buck
great
Hill.
idea. So what if Barry and the mayor of
Barry should
Lakeville
be
played
on the
cribbage
float.
against each other, and then the winner won the fireworks
Out to sea.
purse?
Do you have a Grand Marshal on a float yet? You should get Barry on a float. You've been in many parades, I imagine, Barry.
Can you please be their grand marshal?
Well, for a small fee.
Shrimp and broccoli.
We're on a budget, Barry.
Shrimp and broccoli.
Barry, I was going to ask, after you were kind enough to answer my question about Hubert Humphrey, you met such legends. I was wondering if you wanted a picture with me or not.
Absolutely. Because I see in your future vice president at least.
Oh, thank you.
Little.
Of the
Who
Lions
will be
Club.
big.
Of the Lions Club.
This is one of my favorite anecdotes to tell. For 5th grade year, elementary school, I was the vice president, so I've only gone downhill from where I came from. So
down to mayor.
I went down to mayor from vice president.
Listen, I envy you. I always wanted to get into politics. Can I tell you a fast political
Absolutely.
story? One of my friends was actually Ronald Reagan's kingmaker. His name was Paul Laxalt. And Paul was governor of Nevada when I lived there, and then he became senator. So during very good days, Rusty knows I've had good days and very bad days, but during very good days in my Washington, D.C. television years, I played tennis with Paul at the McLean Racquet Club. And one day after tennis, after Jimmy Connors actually got me my ball, after it went into another thing, but that's another story. Anyway,
Jimmy Connors is your ball guy, all right?
Yeah, it's funny because people said, "How did you get him to do that?" I didn't know who he was. But anyway, after tennis, Paul, we were sitting around, and he said, "What would you like to do if you weren't doing weather on television or newscasting or whatever?" And I said, "Well, Paul, I always wanted to be governor of Nevada." And he said to me, "Barry, you move it back out to Las Vegas for 2 years, and I'll make sure you're governor of Nevada."
You should have gone.
It
Why didn't
scared
you go?
the heck out of me. And I said,
Should've gone.
"Oh, that's how politics works." To myself, I didn't say that to him. He's still living. He's 95 years old now. His birthday is 2 days before mine. So we talk once in a while, but that that ended my political ambitions because
I feel like this is now words of wisdom from Barry to you.
Yeah.
Take that story and run.
Take note.
Child.
Child.
Tiny baby.
Your Honor, child, sir.
Tiny child of Lakeville. Run with that wisdom.
I've never told that story publicly, by the way. It's in the book. But
what's one thing you think that will surprise people? Because people, they're not going to be surprised that Barry Zevan seems to have had a story with just about every legendary personality over the last 50 years. You've been you're broadcasting for 70 years?
75. 76 years.
Wow. 76 years you've been out there broadcasting in some form or another.
Yep.
What would surprise someone, do you think, from the book?
I don't know. I mean, some of the people...
You're not going to do a Bruce Jenner on us, are you?
No.
He just told me
No.
he was 77 years old, so this is not true. Like,
No,
that
that's
can't
right.
be real.
It would be... Wait a minute. You're right. It's only
You would-
7...
you
it's
started
only
when you were
70.
2 years old, sir?
No. I started when I was 5 and a half.
It's amazing.
So wait a minute. Cool it.
He sang on the radio when he was a
5 and a half, so I'm wrong. Listen, I'm an old person, senior moment.
When did this really happen? We're getting to the bottom of it right now.
Started February of 1943, so it would be 72 years.
72
You're right.
years.
Yeah,
72 years.
That's all.
All right. Well,
Only
I'm glad we figured this out.
Thank God. Math is my worst subject. Anyway.
Me too, sir.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know, Duke Ellington kissed me on the lips once.
Hey now.
Without me knowing that was going to happen.
That
How many people has that happened to?
happen on
Show
the
of hands.
podcast.
Everyone here. He's kissed everyone here.
Okay. I did know, I don't know, there are so many stories. One of them, Stefan Laurent, was a person I interviewed, and we got to be friends. He was one of the 6 original members of the Nazi Party.
Ooh.
But there's an upside to this.
Okay.
How is there an
There's
upside?
always the upside.
There's a lake named after him.
Yeah.
That's the upside.
Can I finish this story?
I'm sorry.
Try.
I'll try. Okay, so Stefan said he knew 6 days after Hitler actually recruited him to be a member. He said to Herr Hitler, he said, I don't want to do this. He said, can I just be your photojournalist and, just be your personal photographer? Because Stefan was a photojournalist. And Hitler said yes. So without him being a member...
Hitler.
Wait a minute. Without him being a member of the party, he has this fantastic book that he wrote. He died at the Mayo Clinic just 4 or 5 years ago. But he hated Hitler. But he got into the fold, and this book that he wrote was phenomenal.
I think I've seen some of those pictures.
Yeah.
Aren't they legendary photos?
I can tell one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might have shown you at the house.
Yeah.
There is one thing, though, one political story. John Ehrlichman and I, before he went to prison, he was in our studio in D.C., and he said, Barry, he said, I really like you. He said, why don't we keep in touch? He said, I'll give you the address of the prison.
Oh, boy.
So I wrote to him 2 or 3 times. He wrote back. So he said, I'm going to get married, and I'm moving to Santa Fe. And he said, if you're ever out in New Mexico, come and see me. So ironically, about a month later, I had to be in Albuquerque, so I rented a car, and I drove up to Santa Fe. And he said, let's meet at a restaurant called the Pink Adobe. And so, for breakfast. So I went in, and he had this book with him, but he didn't show me what it was. So right after breakfast, making a long story short, he opens the book, or flops it down on the table, and it's the memoirs of Richard Nixon. And he said, I want to show you something inside. He opens the frontispiece, and it's stamped, Richard M. Nixon. Not to John, thank you, John, for going to prison for me. Nothing. Just stamped Richard M. Nixon.
Nixon.
That's what I went to prison for.
How many times have you been able to say any of what he just said, by the way, like in your lifetime? I mean, how many times have you said, and then he said, if you want to keep in touch with me, here's my address in prison.
Yeah, no.
Like, has that ever happened to you, Sir Mayor?
No, but I have some really sweet stories about this lady who keeps calling me a tiny child.
When will we see the book, Barry? Do you know?
Tiny baby child. When has it ever happened to you? Never.
Hopefully in August. It might soon. Yeah, it might.
I'm excited to read this book.
It might be published first on Amazon and then go to hardcover. I'd prefer that it went to hardcover first, but that's a long process. So
all right. So hopefully in August. Wow.
Yep.
Hesley, I'm safe to say after our exchange here that I don't think we're going to have a day named Hesley Ray Day in Lakeville.
I don't think so.
It should. It should.
I had high hopes, and the mayor and I are in discussions, and I will give him my address when I'm in prison later.
There was
but yeah, no, I don't think he wants me to have a street or lake name. Could you maybe name this lake after me? Maybe.
It already is. Orchard Lake.
No.
There's your last name is very interesting. Oh, I know what it is. In Las Vegas, there was a huge mogul named Don Reynolds, and he had billboard companies and broadcasting stations and everything, but he changed the name to Don Ray. It was Don Ray Broadcasting. So, are you Don Ray's lost daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
She would have arrived by personal helicopter if that was the.
And I did.
So things happening this weekend. You gotta have hearts. Did you ever see Damn Yankees, Barry?
Many times.
Know anyone from that show or cast?
I knew Gwen Verdon thanks to my ex-wife. She understudied Gwen on Broadway in Sweet Charity, and we got to see Gwen in Chicago do Damn Yankees.
Gwen is part of the original Broadway cast of Damn Yankees, which is on stage this weekend at the Ordway Theater. Yeah. I kind of figured you would have some sort of connection.
Well, thanks to Chrissy, I met Bob Fosse several times, and she worked for Bob.
Yeah, wow.
The best in the business.
That's amazing.
Can we pause for a quick crowd shout-out?
Sure. What do you got?
I just want to give a shout-out to Lisa and Klaus Schneegens. They're in the back. Just want to say hi.
Yo!
Good to see you. Good to see you.
How do you know them?
They voted against me, but it's okay. We're friends. We're friends. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have someone else in the back. One of our very own police officers, Kevin.
Nice.
Oh, Neil, get over here.
He's not working, right?
No.
Weasel.
All right, that was it. Thank you.
Oh, that's your shout-outs. All right.
Yeah, that's how you win elections. So
that's how you win.
There might be something in the book that people don't know, and it's a great question, Rusty. People don't know that parts of my life have not been so great. I've driven taxi cabs to survive. I worked in lumber mills.
You went on a podcast once.
I painted signs. I didn't eat anything but a hamburger every other day for 6 weeks when I was working in Washington State. In order to pay child support on time. Doesn't make me a saint, but that was part of my life.
And that'll be in the book, too? The hard times?
Yeah.
The hard times?
Yes.
Sounds like you may have had the blues now and then.
Chuck has never eaten that few calories. I'll just say this. Like, you seem to be eating daily.
Food has an important place in my life.
Speaking of the blues, you're listening to Buddy Guy. He's going to be at the Minnesota Zoo tomorrow night. Buddy Guy is one of the legends as well, a living legend for blues fans. You met, what kind of musicians have you met? What famous musicians have you met along the way?
Well, Quincy.
Yeah, Quincy Jones, producer.
I'm trying to think. Oh, Harry James.
I
knew
Quincy
Harry.
Adams.
Whoa. I'm in the middle of saying something really important.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry. Sorry, sir.
Harry James, I got to know him really well when I lived in Las Vegas, and his son-in-law was a big shot with Chrysler Corporation in Australia. But his wife, of course, was Betty Grable. I mean, they got divorced. But when I moved to Detroit, I had lunch with Harry James' daughter, Victoria, and it was incredible. It was like being with a legend because, I mean, Harry, if you watch the old MGM movies, the musicals, I mean, he was the best trumpet player on the planet. And so Harry was one of my friends.
There you go.
I feel like Barry is a beloved dad right now. You know what I mean? Like, he tells you all these stories that are long, and like he's like, oh, you keep interrupting me, you know, and like
well,
he's like a beloved dad. Can I have him? Can I adopt him?
Sure,
I think
okay?
Try. I think he would ground you. I think that's what this comes down to.
I feel like
go to your
we're
room,
sort of like yin and yang, you know, like you're sort of the like I'm really like in your face, and you're like, let me tell you a long story about the history.
Well, you're the age of one of my grandchildren, so
yeah.
That's fine.
So can we like maybe like could we write a book together? Maybe we could do that. and then it would just be like, what? And then you would be like, listen here, Missy.
Barry, I feel like
He's not
Rusty's
into
going to
it.
call
He
you
doesn't
after this
like it.
podcast and just
Yeah.
apologize. The one guy's eating
I'm
chicken.
sorry. I don't know.
The other lady
I don't
just keeps
know what
interrupting.
just happened. I was watching, like, when you're talking about things that are important, and then, like, everyone's like, oh my God, it's like you have all this knowledge, and then there's me being like, what? You're
And
a
there's you
child.
interrupting.
Yeah, and just interrupting people.
Matt
okay?
would love
Yeah.
to take the mic from me right now.
Can I just say that it should be a general policy of this show that you call every guest and apologize?
I think so.
All right.
Buddy Guy's at the zoo tomorrow night. Comedian Ron White is at Mystic Lake Casino. You're a comedian. Are you a fan of Ron White?
I am.
Here's a joke that I agree with. Has to do with sunglasses.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to start off this evening by asking you a question because I don't know the answer. I lost my sunglasses, and yesterday I went to the Sunglass Hut. Here's the question. Why does a pair of sunglasses cost more than a 25-inch color television set?
That's funny.
I go to the Sunglass Hut. I see a pair of glasses I like. I don't love them. I don't. I like them. $309. And I asked the guy very politely, how do you sleep at night, you little prick?
Anyway, I can relate to that. Ron White is at Mystic Lake Casino Friday night. Here's someone I think you probably would know. Hesley, are you a fan of Third Eye Blind?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah. They're in town as well. I think they're at the Caboose, actually, which is a relatively small venue.
They were pretty popular when I was a small, tiny child.
They are at the Caboose. They're at the Caboose Sunday. So if you want to go to work hungover, go check out the Caboose on Sunday in Third Eye Blind. I was going to do one more. Oh, it's kind of a... It's more of a mellow. Barry, this might be, you're not a rock and roll guy, are you?
No.
No.
It's more like Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Exactly right.
This is, not to be a buzzkill, it's actually a good song. It was based on an indie movie. It's a Broadway show. Do you recognize this?
I do.
So the Broadway show based on the movie Once is in town. It was in town not too long ago, and now it's back, and it's gotten good reviews. So if you are into the Broadway theater scene, it is at the State Theater this weekend. This is sweet, isn't it, Barry?
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right. So maybe, Barry, you and Hesley can go to this one. Don't let her drive, though. You will end up in Northfield. Oh, there's a hug coming on. Hesley's feeling she's now hugging Barry Zevan, the weatherman. She's hugging Broadcast Hall of Famer Barry Zevan.
It's not both ways here, folks. Yeah, it is a one-way hug.
That's a very uncomfortable. That's not even a bro hug.
I am personally uncomfortable.
That's a piss-off hug.
This is $10 a hug. I'll tell you that. You can put it on your
Bring my checkbook today. So.
Who is our band here tonight? We're going to be hopefully
Jason Paulson.
Jason Paulson is the band. There they are. Every Thursday after our little chart house, we segue into live music. We're coming up on about 5 minutes from the live music part of our show.
I got a question for the mayor.
Okay, do it.
Want to hear about these graduation parties you were crashing?
Yeah,
the other week?
there was a TV story about it as well.
Yeah, there's a bit of TV story. So a couple weekends ago, Fox 9 followed me to some grad parties. I'd put out on Twitter and Facebook that if you wanted me to come to your graduation party, I'd try and make it if physically possible. And
did you bring gifts?
I brought nearly everybody a card. I ran out of cards the last day and ran out of time.
Because budget.
But it was awesome. It was something I was really happy to do, to send these kids off to college. I mean, they are Lakeville's ambassadors, and I want them to go to college and be proud of where they came from.
Do you think
Did you ever say Lake Hesley? Where you here's a card and it was Lake Hesley in the background and me hugging Mary? I mean, could there be a card that would propel these children?
I think your name recognition is higher in Northfield than in Lakeville.
That would be true.
Yeah, they know her. That lady who walked into the store getting directions.
Mayor, what do you think about free college then? that is being presented.
The free 2 years of community college.
Yeah, or is that what it is?
There's been various proposals. I mean, I think it's likely untenable to do free college for everybody, just like it's untenable to do free health care for everybody. There has to be some sort of, you got to put in to go, right? You got to give back or put in to go.
What's the plan in Germany? How are they doing it? Do you know?
I have no idea.
The folks in Germany get free college.
That's Barry Zevan's buddy, the Nazi.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, here's...
Won't college for everyone but the Jews.
All right, let us calm down. Let us calm down.
We're not advocating on the Twin Cities Hit Show, executing Jews.
Like...
My friends, the Schneegans, are here.
Nazi.
Be nice to them. Be nice.
As the only Jew here, I just got really uncomfortable from the joke I started. I'll be leaving.
Can I give you a real answer on that? No.
Yeah, please.
Well, it's just a lot different when you have a country that does not have over 300 million people. It's a whole different scenario when you're trying to provide that level of service.
How many people do they have? Do we know?
What, in Germany?
In Germany?
Yeah.
We have
at least 100 million.
And so we have 300 and some, close, just shy of 400 million.
Look it up. Let's look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah,
Germany's population. I want to guess like 40 to 60.
Oh, this is like a game show now.
80.
80 million.
We'll split the difference.
6. 80 million minus 6. Yeah. Sorry. More Holocaust jokes. My favorite.
Holocaust jokes. Springtime.
Yeah, I like to lighten the mood, Barry. Sorry.
Again, but I agree. He said that, he said a lot of things about, Germans. So
about Germans.
He was singing "Springtime for Hitler," which is Mel Brooks. Who you know, Mel Brooks.
Let's bring it back to like a family-friendly focus.
I just did. I said Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks. He's a good guy.
Tell us about Mel Brooks.
Do you know him?
Very well, and he did. He told me once. He said, "I wish I had known that you existed a long time ago." He said, "You would have been in my stable of actors." Thank you.
Spaceballs. You'd be a good emperor. Yeah.
As long as they're Nazis.
I'm imagining every movie now with Barry in it, like every Mel Brooks movie ever created.
Mel Brooks
Barry as the star.
Mel Brooks, and he is Jewish, found a way to take that horrible subject, and he said the way you do it is you make fun of them. That's how
Turned
you bring
it right
them
around.
down.
Exactly, and it worked.
Yep.
And he had a lot of problems selling that to people who would have put it on Broadway or on film.
But luckily, he was selling it
For
to
a
all
long
Jews
time.
because my people run the film industry.
Charlie Chaplin did the same thing while Hitler was coming to power.
Yeah.
That's right.
We could all learn
So-
something, and especially you tiny child mayor.
If there's anybody here that needs to learn something, I will let that comment linger.
You know what? I sure could use a beer from 3rd Street Brewery right about now. Barry, all right, we look forward to your book coming out
refreshing.
in August.
Thanks.
And how will we find out? Do you have a website or?
I don't have a website, but there is going to be promotion.
Well, let us know. We'll get the word out, all
I
right?
will. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on today.
And Hesley, when's your coloring book coming out? It's,
Really soon, guys. Making it right now. It's about Jewish people and Clay Calhoun.
all right. And Mayor, we will see you this weekend, 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, you'll be able to find me all week, pretty much everywhere at a lot of the events. So
You're on
hope
for
to see you
cribbage there, Your Honor. I will see
am.
you there, mister.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. We're
Thank
now we're going to just stretch here a moment and we'll talk about next week as we get the band set up. It looks like he's tuning up, seeing if we can't get him. Mike, check. Chuck, who do we have coming up next week?
Well, I'm glad
Do you
you're
realize
asking me that,
it
Rusty.
is 4th of July next week? I can't believe that.
Yeah, we're going to have comedian Tommy Ryman, who was our first guest ever on the show. He'll be back next week.
He was just on KQ this morning.
He was on KQ this morning.
And now he's going to be on our show.
Stealing our time, and I'm waiting for my calendar app to load here. Tommy Ryman, very excited about that. And Patrick Bauer.
Who is Patrick
He's
Bauer?
a local comedian. His dad was one of the powerhouses of comedy, Bill Bauer.
Bill and Peg Bauer, yeah.
So, and then also we're having someone for Explore Minnesota. Alyssa Abel will be back on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she'll be back on Monday. So Monday.
Oh, good.
Alyssa, Tuesday.
What does she have to talk about?
Just some of the exciting things going on in Minnesota, our
isn't that
lovely
nice?
state here.
All right, are we picking up the band through the magic of technology? 1 minute?
Yeah,
All right,
then we give them the 1 minute finger.
I want to...
Was that a
Hesley, do you
index
like
finger
My
I just
Morning
saw?
Jacket? Do you like the band My Morning Jacket? They're at Northrop this weekend for 2 nights.
Miss you on television, my friend.
Hey, I'm going to be. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to be on WCCO tomorrow morning, as I am now every Friday.
Oh, great!
And I have to go in early because tomorrow they have Hollywood makeup artists that are going to turn me into the Terminator tomorrow.
Really?
Yes, and my meal choice tomorrow is also chicken. I will be watching while eating chicken.
Oh, you're great, my friend.
I thank you. Back at you. Yeah, I have to go in. It's a 2-hour process, evidently, to become Arnold Schwarzenegger. So they're going to have the cameras and follow me along. I haven't even seen the movie yet. I'll be doing a review on Ted 2, which Hesley are too young.
One of my friends is in Ted 2. Ron Canada, he's a black actor. He and I were let go the same day in Washington, D.C., and he said to me, Barry, we're among the Grateful Dead. And Ron has played a lawyer on all these great shows like Law and Order and things of that nature. So now he's a judge in Ted 2.
Oh, you see him in the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a big part in the movie Ted 2.
He's my pal.
Oh, so. There isn't much you can fool Barry with, or that he hasn't met or known personally.
I'm sorry. It's all I can say.
What about Elvis? Did you ever meet Elvis?
I did meet Elvis.
Oh, my God.
One time, and it was very memorable.
Except for Dick Van Dyke. That was the one thing that I ever said that was relevant. He did not know Dick Van Dyke.
Are we going to be able to do it? All right, we got the mics. Thanks again, Mayor. Good luck this weekend, 4th of July celebrations. Oh, we're just going to use our mic?
Yeah, Jason Paulson here.
It's a backup. All right.
Okay. Jason Paulson live from the Chart House.
And we'll take it away, Jason, whenever you go. There's 2 people there, 2 guitars.
Jason Paulson and the other guy. Okay.
Yeah, the Elvis story is fun.